Okay, hello guys. So this is now our fourth installment of our compendium, particularly for the soil science part. So as we have covered I'm slightly looking at here because ang monitor guba na and my webcam is on my monitor sa laptop and I'm looking at you right now. But my screen is a separate external screen, so I'm looking here. So don't bother about my face. Again, as I was saying, this is now our fourth installment. We covered like daghan, quote unquote, out of something like 700 questions. We are now into the 45th, and some of it we actually skipped, considering that si Miss Rene Jane ang mas familiar sa uban nga aspects. So this time, we will continue with this session. So ako'y plano mo undang ini bahalang hinay-hinay, at least from time to time I can give you something. Sometimes there are medyo mabisi lang ta usahay, sometimes there are other priorities nga na, sometimes eksaba palusot ni sir ba tapol mode pero ayog saba. Okay, so again, as I was saying last time, we were talking about kadtong number 45, no? Padayon ta ha, again ha, kutob sa minumduman, di gani ko kahinumdum pasta palaban ta ni ma'am. Okay, 45, we covered this one last time. So number 46, most of the N in the solid fraction of the soil is in the form of, to be honest, I don't know what's the correct answer, but it's either na ang naaaning duha, A or B, but let's just refer that one to Ma'am Alesta. Okay, number 47, the molten mass where igneous rocks solidify from is core, magma, mantle, or soil. Molten mass where, okay, igneous rocks solidify. So when we say molten mass, ang molten mass of rock can either be magma or lava. Ang core, duha man po ni ka parts, na liquid nga core, na po'y solid nga core, nasa center nga part. What actually goes out that igneous rocks come from is ang magma. Pero had it been nga doon na pa'y option nga lava, okay, igneous rocks can also come from lava. Now, what's the difference? Lava, I think I have something here. This one. Ang lava ko no is molten rock that has reached the Earth's surface. Magma katong tuwa pa sa ilawom. So anything under the Earth's crust nga molten rock, well, labot ang core, of course. That's part of the mantle ng molten rock, is called magma. What goes out is lava. Now remember, duha at igneous, we have the extrusive or intrusive. So intrusive igneous rocks can form from magma, and extrusive igneous rocks can form from lava, based on this definition nga magma on the Earth's surface is already called lava. For this particular question, ang soil dili po din nagikan. Okay? Igneous rocks mo na di pod sa mantle. So I would choose letter B. Okay? Molten mass man na siya. 48. The decomposition of the complex substances of rocks and minerals resulting to changes in chemical composition, release of soluble materials, and formation of new minerals. So, weathering ni siya, pero in particular, letter C. Again, balikan na to. Decomposition of complex substances, baya gisgutan. So, we are talking about ang mineral aspect, ang chemical aspect. Substance of rocks and minerals resulting to changes in chemical composition, like I said, letter C. Release of soluble materials from the formation of new minerals. So, ang ato na ning gisgutan before, partly ang major difference between a primary and a secondary mineral. We will go over the options. Exfoliation next. Punta na po nato. This is a perfect example of physical weathering, a letter D diha. Weathering, again, is a more general term. It can either be it can either follow the chemical pathway or the physical pathway. But for question number 48, ang correct answer would be letter C. 49. The general term for the process whereby ions adsorb. Be careful with this one. Sometimes it's a B, sometimes it's an A. Adsorbed, meaning surface, mupilit. The general term for the process whereby ions adsorbed on the surface of soil colloids are exchanged for ions in the soil solution. Correct answer is cation exchange or ion exchange. Ions naman. Anion is, okay, difference. cations and anions. I don't know if I can still remember it right, but cations are positively charged ions and anions are negatively charged ions. Tigo lang na, sir. Natin check. Unsa man ang cation? Yeah, okay. Here's yun. Unsa man ang ion? Ang ion is a particle, a molecule, an atom that is charged. It can be positively charged or negatively charged. This, look at this one. Perfect example. 1, 2, 3, 4 kabuok protons. Unsa man ni nga atom? Periodic table. Hydrogen, helium, say third. Is it lithium or beryllium? Let's check. Element 4. What's that? Somebody. Malingaw lagi ko. Periodic table. What's the element number 4 or atomic number 4? Let's see. Which one has an atomic number 4? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Beryllium. Okay. So therefore, this one is a beryllium atom. Anaha, upat ka buok positively charged, upat ka protons, tulo ka electrons. So mas daghan ang protons. That means it's positively charged. Okay? This is an example of an anion. Upat ka protons, 5 ka electrons. So naghinubra ang electrons, it's negatively charged. Supposed to be in normal circumstances, okay, a particle, a molecule, or an atom dapat angay. So equal number of protons, equal number of corresponds to an equal number of electrons. Neutrals, yeah. So it's not called an ion. So once maghinubra ang electrons or mahimo siyang negatively charged, ug magkulang pod ang electrons compared to the protons, mahimo po siya og positively charged. Again, anions are negatively charged ions, cations are positively charged ions. Karon, general term for the process whereby ions adsorbed, mupilit na siya, on the soil surface of soil colloids are exchanged for ions in the soil solution. It's actually called an ion exchange. Okay? Anion specific man na. Cation specific po na. Di po ni mao ang isomorphous substitution. Kalimot ko kung saan yung isomorphous, but it's not the one. Ion exchange. But typically for soils, since doon na may net negative charge sa gawas sa soil particle, particularly colloidal particles, kanto mga clays na to, ang gawas mo rin siya libro. I don't know if I can show you an image sa clay particle. Yeah, it looks something like this. This one, yun, something in ang clay mineral. So it looks like a book, no, with spaces there in between. Okay, clay size particles. Okay, it looks like a closer look pag yun mura siya og libro. Unya, katayan, katibutang ha. Exchange capacity. Para this one, I think this is wait. I would like to show unsay mas maayo. Okay, soil solution. When we say naa sa soil solution, I'm not exactly sure what might be a good figure that I can use for demonstration purposes. Hopefully I can find an easy one. Okay, wait. Okay, kini siguro, no? Okay, kani siguro. We'll have this one. Look at that. So, ikuan ang root here. So, wato na to maklaro-klaro gamay because of the internet connection. Okay, this is a soil particle. A soil particle, this has been mentioned time and again, ni Ma'am Ales na pa or diri sa ako. Ang outside sa soil particle, it is dominated by the negative nga charge. So, therefore, ang usa ka soil particle, particularly the clays nga dagko kay siyang surface katong gi-mention nga murag libro, so you can think of ing ana dinhi na ani siya negative 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 diri sa sud negative 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 di puro na siya negative. So sige ani ra siya kadako, musamot kadako ang iyang surface because of the irregular nga shape niya sa gawas. Okay, so it has a net negative charge. So kani si magnesium 2 plus, si K plus, si H, these are positively charged ions. So positively charged ions mo ning gitawag og cation ions. Since positively charged man siya, ma-attract siya dito sa negative charge sa gawas sa soil particle. So for example, kini, if ang K matangtang gikan siya nagpilit onto the surface of that soil particle and it is replaced by H. Ang kining H naa na siya sa soil solution, for example. Okay, mo na gitawag og cation exchange. So, ug naa sa soil solution that is usable by crops. Ug nagpilit din ha, lisod na siya paggamit sa kana siyang tanom kay it's tightly held in that surface. Okay? So going back sa ato ang question, money. So it's ion exchange. Now, typically when we talk about soils, seldom ta makahisgot og anion exchange. Mostly cation exchange ang atong hisgutan. It's because the outside surface or surface, we're talking about adsorbed here, adsorbed surface is dominated by the negative charge. Okay? Or it has a net negative charge. Okay, 49, we'll go to number 50. It refers to the amount of exchangeable cations per unit weight of dry soil. I think this is already covered by Ma'am Rene J, no? Amount of exchangeable cations per unit weight. So mo ni siya ang cation exchange capacity. Dili na nako na siguro elaborate. Also, di pug kay ko kamuan to be honest. Okay. Nitrate is removed from the soil system by which of the following? Nitrogen fertilization, erosion, leaching, plant uptake. Erosion, leaching, plant uptake. I'm not sure to be honest, but I think it's plant uptake. Okay? Kaya ang nitrate kay usable naman na siya sa tanom. Metamorphosis is caused by what? I'm not sure about this question in the first place. Ug unsay iyahang refer. But let's try to examine sa choices. Metamorphosis. Kabalo kong metamorphosis sa insects kung mamamjasel na bunda. But the choices are leaching, earthquake, high pressure and temperature, floods. I think has something to do with metamorphosis sa rocks. We covered this one before. Remember, 3 types of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic rocks. So when it metamorphose, mo ni yang iskutan, mo ni siya yung mga question nga kanang faulty questions ba. So you have to be very careful. Sa board exam later on, sometimes you will be given questions that are like this. It looks weird, it looks stupid. But for me, ang akong answer ani after looking at the options, I would go for high pressures and temperatures. Mo man ni siya maka-change sa rock from sedimentary to metamorphic or from igneous to metamorphic rock. So metamorphosis is caused by this. Anyways, 53. It refers to the arrangement of primary soil particles into secondary units or aggregates that is called structure. Okay, so aggregation. Unsa man ni siyang other options nato? Soil consistency, I'm not really exactly familiar with that, but let me try to look that up. Unsa may soil consistency? Soil consistency is the strength with which soil materials are held together or the resistance of soils to deformation and rupture. Okay, that's consistency. So basically, unsa ka how soils are held tightly with each other. Okay? Muna iya consistency. Let's try plasticity. Okay, lain po din siyang plasticity. It's the ability to undergo deformation without cracking or fracturing. Okay? Consistency has something to do with the strength. This is not a very common characteristics nga characteristic nga atong gitakol sa soil sciences. Sa engineering, perhaps. Okay, this is covered more in detail. Okay, in engineering, we are more interested in the mechanical properties of soils, especially to in relation to kanang mga structures nga atong i-build on top of it. Sa agriculture, dili kayo na importante nato. So, ang plasticity di ay is the ability to undergo deformation without cracking or fracturing. Ang consistency is that ability to resist deformation. Mo resist siya deformation, so murag gahion gani siya, lisod gani siya bungkagon, gahi compact. That's a consistent soil. It sounds weird, but it's a consistent soil kay consistency man. Pero og once mo deform siya, nya mo balik siya, it's a plastic soil. So it sounds even weirder. anyway, anyway, let's try to go back here. Asan ako? What number? Here, number 53. Refers to the arrangement. Again, like I said, letter C is the correct answer for this particular question. Texture, we also already covered this one before. This has something to do with ang relative proportions sa different sizes of soils. Soil separates. In particular, ang sand, ang silt, ug ang clay. Again, duha ka bukang standards. Please be familiar with it. Na ay slight difference ang kang USDA nga standard ug kang ISSS, International Soil Science Society. Okay? Density, on the other hand, saan ako pag-explain, is actually mass per unit volume. Hopefully, do na tayo makover maagian later on that will be asking about bulk o particle density. Pwede po na ako siguro ni i-discuss sa inyo ha. Density is, let me see. Ato sa tanaw no ba na wahi na nato ni. Wait. Consistency man na, texture man na. Structure is ang iyahang aggregation, how it is arranged. Daghan po din nga klase ang structure. Ato sa ning i-Google soil structure. Na akatong columnar, prismatic, kini. Oh, soil structure na dagan. Okay, reviewhan na lang ninyo. Defined by the way individual particles of sand, silt, and clay are assembled. Okay? So, yun sa niya pagkapurma, soil particles are assembled appear as larger particles or clods or aggregates. Ooh, let's see this one. This one. Unsang mga klase sa mga structure na ay platy? Yeah, that one. Okay? Granular. So, bualag. Aggregated. Ito siya. So, nagtapok-tapok siya, pero medyo ang clumps niya is a little bit smaller, blocky. So, generally, it's sort of, mura siyang mo resemble og prism or blocks. Then, columnar or prismatic. Then, platy or massive. Kini ka ng compact na kayo, mga clay nga kuan nga structure, mura siyang ingana. Sa reality, good condition, lahi po ni. Yeah, but that's structure. So going back, usa na lang ang wala nato na density atong i-tackle. When we say density, okay, again, density, simple density. Okay, density is simple mass over volume. So typically we would say grams per cubic centimeter, we'd say kilograms per cubic meter. Mao na siya density. Now, if we talk about, wait, gamay, remove soils after soils and on. If we talk about soils, duha ka klase ang typical nga measure nato sa density sa soils. Natay gitawag nga particle density ug ang gitawag nato nga bulk density. Okay, both measures sa density sa soil are expressions of mass over volume. Pero unsa may difference? If we talk about particle density, we are only talking about volume sa particles alone. Let me pull out another soil. Tanaw na to ha. If okay, I think this one. Yeah, this is a good one. Okay. Aha. So, mo ni siya ang saktay mihinga. Okay? All right. This is think of this as mo ni siya ang ato ang soil sample, like you think of a soil clump kanang usa ka bagal sa yuta, or think of it as a sample taken using a soil core sampler, like katong lata sa sardinas or katong tubo atong giduot, and then we try to remove it. Ang If we try to examine diha sa sulod, naa siya pore spaces, wala man na ilalis. I think we covered this one as well before pod. So, ang total volume, if we think about the lata sa sardinas, atong himuong core sampler, atong i-push dito sa ilawom, and then we get a soil sample sa sulod. Ang total volume niya is actually composed of one, the soil particles, and two, ang pore spaces. Ang pore spaces is either occupied by water or air. Now, so ang total volume niya is equal to the volume sa solids plus sa volume sa pores. Okay ra? Does that make sense? I think that's easy to understand. Again, kini nga total volume, if we try to arrange it neatly, that we can put everything solid below the certain line and everything pore space above that line, then we could say nga mao ni ang nag-occupy nga space is about 50% solid and about 50% pores. Okay? Now, going back. Density is mass per unit volume. Particle density, di lang ko na ko gamitag symbols, it's easier to understand, is dry mass sa soil sample, okay, divided by, okay, the volume of solids. Okay? Particle density is dry mass sa soil, why labot ang water, over the volume of solids. Again, units can either be in terms of kilograms per cubic meter, tons per cubic meter, grams per cubic centimeter, something like that. But typically, for our applications, agricultural sciences, we're using grams per cubic centimeter. Bulk density, on the other hand, is again dry mass. Why labot ha? Mass din siya sa particles. Dry mass sa soils over volume total. Unsa maning volume total? Okay? Volume total is actually equal to volume solids plus volume of voids or katong pore spaces. So think of volume total as more or less katong lata itself, like the volume of the whole lata. Okay? Look at that very closely. Both are density expressions para sa soil. One is called particle density, the other is called bulk density. Okay? Both are expressions of mass over volume, pero ang main difference nila is ang denominator. For particle density, it's volume of solids. For bulk density, it's total volume. Since volume total or total volume is equal to volume solids plus volume of voids, therefore, always kini nga mahitabo. Okay, let me find that one. So it's always that way. Volume total is always greater than the volume of solids. Kay unless nga wala siya pore spaces, di man pud mahitabo nga walay pore spaces. Then they become equal kung ang volume of voids or pore spaces is zero pod. Bisan ang concrete pa siminto, di man gani mahitabo na nga wala ginay voids, naa magyud gani gihapon. So always ang total volume is always greater than the volume of solids. So based on that, if you try to look at this volume solids, no, that one, isolate that na. Okay, look at that. Volume total, volume solids, mas gamay ang volume dire, mas dako ang volume compared ani. Given the same soil sample, okay, if we try to compute, since gamay ang denominator sa particle density kaysa denominator sa bulk density, almost always ang particle density is always, kaya ideally almost always greater than bulk density. In particular, most soils, okay, has a particle density of about 2.65 grams per cm cube. All right. So mura ni siyang standard na ni siya. Pero ang bulk density will depend on how compact that particular soil sample is. Ha? I hope that makes sense. No? If there's anything, by the way, please don't hesitate to ask questions sa ato ang FB group. We can still make use of our AI1. Again, ayaw PM, samo kayo PM. We can still make use of AI1 if you have questions sa compendium that you want me to address. Post a question there. I will gladly answer that one. Okay, or you can email me. You already know my email address. Okay, so we covered this one pretty much. Next is, this regime has a mean annual soil temperature of 15 degrees or higher, but lower than 22 degrees. Actually, kini textbook na ni siya, textbook definitions. So, dili na ni Mr. Lalison ako. But let's try to look at it. Look it up. Soil temperature regimes. We can find that easily online. Okay, so naa na ni mga standard na maguni siya. Soil temperature regimes. That one. Aha, tang dali aras trabaho ni sir. Yun, basta naalantay internet and it's stable. We can find that right away. Okay. Dara ha. Soil temperature regimes. I think originally this is from USDA. Also, this is already adopted by the other organizations. So, si FAO, for example, ang iyang temperature regimes is base regyapo ni USDA. I'm not sure about it. We can ask Ma'am Regina Lesnar. You can Google it if you want. Okay, naay first column, average temperature. Different soil temperatures. The difference kuno between summer and winter. Difference between summer and winter. Take note ha. Average temperature all throughout the year. Unya, ang difference between the hottest or the coldest months should be greater than or equal to 6 degrees Celsius. Kinipod, ang difference kuno is less than or equal to 6 degrees Celsius. So, if the temperature, average temperature is less than 8 degrees Celsius whole year round, so you can find this one kantong mga permafrost nga area dito sa North Alaska, gani, polar regions, muna frigid. If the difference is more than 6 degrees Celsius during summer, during summer and that of winter, more than 6 ang difference, frigid na. Pero less than 6, isofrigid. So, nanatay mga pangalan na. Okay? 8 to 15 degrees, that's mesic. 15 to 22 degrees, thermic. Okay? Isothermic kung less than 6 ang difference. Then, more than 22, that's hyperthermic. Sayo pa na spelling. Then, unsa ni? Less than 0 is pergelic. 0 to minus 8, shall also cryic. Unsa na ni? But anyway, kita sa Pilipinas, okay, I think ang temperatures na to will be somewhere here. 15 to 22 degrees. Soils man eh. Air temperatures na to is more or less just like that one also. Pero sa soil, it's more stable. And then, I think we do not get more than 6 degrees. So, to be honest, I'm not sure about this. We can ask Ma'am Rene Jane. But I would go Philippines for all of our soils here. Ang ato ang temperature regime is isothermic, meaning it has a temperature range between, it has an average temperature annual ha, sa katuig of between 15 to 22 degrees Celsius, and the difference or fluctuations within that year cannot be more than 6 degrees Celsius. All right? I think that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So, this regime has a mean soil temperature of 15 degrees Celsius or higher, but lower than 22 degrees Celsius. Mo na atong naagian, thermic. All right? Thermic. Let's see again. Yeah, it's thermic. Naapay hyperthermic, isohyperthermic, and so on. You can check that out. You don't need to memorize it. Just be familiar with. The more the more you come across this mga regimes or whatever, the more nga mas masabtan ninyo. The more nga mabanggaan mo, dili mo makalimot. If you try to memorize patay mo, banggaan mo something, banggaan mo sa kahong RH, piti, kalimtan gina. 55. The weathering that takes place below the soil solum. Hala. Unsa man na? I'm not sure about this, but below the soil solum, pedochemical weathering, geochemical weathering, physical weathering, exfoliation. It's not exfoliation. That's weird. I think it's pedochemical weathering. Look up na to. Og dili ta sure. Pedochemical. Let's see. Tugaya, oy. Yung tapot lagi. Ogoroy. What's wrong? What? Pedochemical. Taka kung type kaniya, guys. What's wrong? Sorry for that. Yun. Dili siya musugot. So I'm not sure if this is still working. Hopefully it is still working. So I don't know the answer. We go to, what's our time, by the way? 31 minutes na. Goodness. 55 pulo ra tong agi this time. Kung ano to. A subsoil with high clay accumulation is written in symbol as high clay accumulation. Subsoil. Google na to. I don't know the answer to that. Naaraman ko ni sa kangkuan. Ala, something's wrong with the internet. So I guess we have to stop here. Hopefully, padayon na to ni. We'll continue with question number 56. Okay? I'll see you again in my next installment.